Hey guys, John Adamson, the Rehab and Documentation Guru. I'm not going to talk so much about rehab or documentation right now, but about healthcare and something that significantly helps the health of individuals. There is a brief snippet of a news article that has made its rounds in the last day or two in one of the major Facebook groups I follow for geriatric therapists, and it depicts a picture of an elderly woman holding a little baby. And the article claims that in Canada, there has been a nursing home that's been merged with an orphanage. Now, I tried to find the article specific to this, and I did find something claiming that this picture was false, but then the picture they showed was different. So it is very possible that in Canada, there has been such a merging, although I don't think it's possible right now, given the state of the political landscape in Canada and their lockdown measures, that this is really going on right now. In fact, industry wide, what we've seen is we've seen nursing homes close down to outsiders. In some states, it's been rather draconian, where loved ones aren't able to see any of their family, even, except for perhaps through a window, and even then, patients that are more bedbound or have greater dementia can't possibly interact with their loved ones in a way that's meaningful to them. Now, this kind of news or similar news has been in the news in the past. So, for example, I found from a publication called The Star. You can find it at thestar.com. There was an article posted back in February of 2016 entitled "Magic Abounds When Daycare, Seniors Home Share Roof." And there have been hybrid models in the United States where you'll have a daycare operating out of a nursing home. And what they found consistently was excellent results for the seniors that were involved in that particular setting. All factor improvement in healthcare outcomes, including mobility, ADL engagement, reduction in need of pain medicine, reduction in need of psychotropics. Isn't it amazing what a little bit of love and children do for seniors? I mean, if you've worked in a nursing home, back in the day before this little thing called COVID, when we actually were open to, let's say, schools bringing in children, or also daycares bringing in children, and children doing like musical presentations and doing crafts with the seniors, what you saw was people these elderly people who are sometimes kind of stoic, kind of reserved, opening up, expressing gratitude, smiling, really engaging. I mean, it just makes sense. It's common sense that human beings, whom we have known for all time, desire fellowship with other human beings, would light up when kids are there. I tried to look up the article about the recent orphanage associated with a elderly home. Couldn't find anything, but I found somebody posting online in a comment saying that we should not be combining children with elderly in nursing homes, because last thing these elderly need is some child to be knocking them off their feet, breaking a hip, or worrying them with their loud noises when they've got enough to worry about. Well, it's interesting. There's this human phenomena that when you are engaged with other people and you're concerned about that other person, guess what? Your own worries subside. One of the greatest fixes to being down in the dumps is being involved in life, and nobody is more lively than a child. I'll tell you what, I've had some pretty challenging days at work, and I'll get home and I'll be like, ugh, tired. I mean, I know you guys are too. And yet my children, with their energy and their exuberance, bring me new life. Why would it be surprising that study after study shows that this kind of model is helpful? And yet we have totally eliminated. Totally eliminated any opportunity for that. Why are our seniors dying at a greater rate? Is it just COVID? Is it only COVID? Or could there be an element related to isolation, which does increase all factor mortality and morbidity? It only makes sense. But here's one more thing to think about related to not allowing younger children, who, by the way, studies have shown that transmission of COVID from a young child to an adult virtually never happens. Isn't that amazing? Because even those that are infected with COVID, those that are not symptomatic, the transmission rate from a non-symptomatic COVID-infected person is virtually nil compared to those that are symptomatic. So you take these children who used to bring light and life to these elders out of their life. Is it any wonder that things like mortality and morbidity is on the rise, that you're seeing a rise in suicide even amongst the elderly? Is it any wonder? There's one more thing to think about. I've talked about the health benefits to the elderly, but what about the benefits to the children? One problem that we have in today's society, and it's partly an American issue, is ageism. Ageism, where you have a preferential treatment of those who are, let's say, in your age group or younger, or maybe still vital and still have some looks about them. Ageism, a separation of those who are older because there's a feeling that they don't have as much to contribute to society. Ageism, a revulsion of the elderly who are starting to lose capabilities of taking care of themselves, including bodily function. Ageism, as though somebody who is elderly no longer has anything of value to add to society. America is very much has a problem in ageism. If you look at other societies, I'll give you an example. I have a Latin American patient right now. She's elderly. She's living with 2 additional generations of her family. Their love for one another and their value for one another is evident as soon as you walk in the house. Their interaction, the younger people's interaction with this elderly patient, is phenomenal because their culture values the aged and values family. How about this kind of model where you allow little children to interact with the elderly and get something of value from the elderly and learn from an early age that ageism is not appropriate? How about that? How about letting these young children who have virtually no risk of transmitting COVID to an elderly population to interact with these elderly, to bring light and life to their life, improve their quality of life, reduce their mortality and their morbidity, reduce their need for pain medicines and psychotropics? How about we do that? Wouldn't that be a wonderful thing? Oh yeah, and by the way, most experts are now saying that either by spring, mid-spring, or early summer, we will have achieved herd immunity. It's time to start putting the science to practice, open up those nursing homes, expose those seniors, not to the virus, but to the light and life of children, and therefore also train the up-and-coming generations that age is a beautiful thing. John Adamson, the Rehab and Documentation Guru. Take care. God bless.